Welcome to the next episode of In Conversation, and I am here with the fabulous Nic Hayes from Media Stable, who has promised me that he's going to really bring it to this episode, and we're going to bring home the value. He's going to outperform everyone. Welcome, Nic.
Oh, thank you, Jacqueline, and outperform everyone. I've seen who's on your list of people that you've been interviewing. How the hell can I outperform all of those people? Glenn Kelly.
You're the one who said you know how to bring it, so I just thought I'd just lay down the challenge. But
let's see what we can do.
Okay. I'll help you. I'll meet you halfway. How does that sound?
Oh, thank God.
Nic, just for everybody else, I've done a little bit of a bio introduction for you before we open the interview, but just for everybody else, in your own words, who is Nic Hayes? What is Media Stable, and how did you get here?
Oh, good. Oh, well, it's my favourite topic, Jacqueline. Now, so Nic Hayes is a 25-year veteran of media and basically just been working. I love media. I live and breathe media, and it's just the thing that absolutely makes me tick and helps me get up every morning. I've never felt like I've ever worked a day in my life, purely for the fact that I get to work in the best industry running around. What is Media Stable? Look, Media Stable is a connector. It's a bridge. It's between expert and media. So we worked out about 9 years ago that when the media resources, both in personnel and finances, were starting to shorten up. There was less connection, there was less money running around, less people running around, and they weren't finding the experts and commentators that they were wanting to work with. So we decided, let's help them. Let's build a resource that media can use, a bank of experts and commentators that are ready, willing, and wanting to get their message out. And let's feed it through to the media that needs it, wants it, and probably doesn't necessarily have all the quality control checks in place to go away and find it. So Media Stable is that bridge, that connector of expert commentary along with good content.
Awesome. So what you're telling me is that you really need to know your stuff to be with Media Stable, yeah?
You do, but the key things to be an expert in media, and look, you know, Jacqueline, we know that everyone puts expert in their LinkedIn page. And
I think that's the most overused term. I actually interviewed Maz Farrelly as part of this series as well. So I should go back to her and say, what do you think about the word expert?
Well, it is. It's overused. It's overdone. And everyone thinks and claims to be an expert. The beautiful thing that media does, though, is that media puts you up on that pedestal. It actually rubber stamps you as that expert and authority, because media has very clear guidelines as to who it can go away and use and work with. And also because not everyone can go away and do it. So when you are recognized in the media as an expert, you really are an expert. Nothing that a beautiful pamphlet will be nicely prepared and done for you. If you do that, yeah, that's one thing. But if you're in the media, that's another thing altogether. So to be an expert, be a business owner, have 10 years plus experience, be on the tools, be working within it, and really put your hand up and say, hey, I am an expert. I am a commentator. I want to be a part of it.
Yeah. And I think it's really important, like, you know, the main audience that we have here as speakers, everything from aspiring and emerging right through to established, you know, some of the people that are in the world that we're talking about. And I think what's really important is actually the same thing as we're speaking. How many people do you get approached by who go, I want to be in media and I've got a message, and they actually really don't have, are you inundated with people who aren't quite there, who want to be there?
Look, it's generally 50%. 50% of people that do come to us and say, look, I'm ready, I want to do this, this is what I'm going to do. There's a couple of checks and balances that we have to have in place. So, you know, first and foremost, are they ready? Do they really want to do this? And that's a few questions that you've got to go away and ask, because if they don't have the want, then they're not much good to us, and they're not much good to the media. They've also got to have the time available, and the time available to engage media and actually to really put themselves in front of the media and put themselves out to be a part of it. And the third part, Jacqueline, is got to be good at it. And when you're good at it, and it's not about being really good in front of a camera or a microphone, it's just be really good at your delivery, really good at your expertise, and deliver it to a way that the audience of media will appreciate it. We don't like working with a lot of academics. Academics can tend to talk in language that I just don't understand. But no one really ever does. But also academics will tend to go down the pathway of wanting to communicate with other academics. We want to talk to people that are the business owners. They are the people that are on the ground. They're working the tools, and they're actually doing something here, because they're the experts that media want to talk to.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the things as well I'm very conscious of. You know, we've started to work together. I mean, not for me personally, but with people that I work with. And one of the things I've always been really conscious of is the same as the expert claim is that claim of here. I almost feel like everybody says herein lies a thought leader. Right, everybody's a thought leader, everybody's an expert, and it's like, you know, sometimes I look at the world and go, if there's so many thought leaders in the world, who is actually doing the damn work? You know, who is actually doing the work. So I love the fact that you're saying it needs to be grounded in what you're actually doing at the moment, and that you've built a career history or a business history or a history of being in that space.
It's such a good point, because what we do, you've got to be, you just can't just talk it. You've got to be actioning it. You've
Yeah,
got to be Action Jackson. You've got to get out there and make it work and happen. To be someone as a thought leader, or someone who in theory knows what needs to be done, but practically has never done it. It's something that's difficult for us, and particularly for you to convey that in the media, because very quickly they'll just say, well, what do you know? You've just spent your life in a theatre, inside a classroom. You're not quite there. I'm not putting down all academics, so I should make mention that we do work with a lot of academics that are good at that, delivering information to an audience that's not necessarily their audience.
yeah,
And that's the key behind it, Jacqueline, is that we've got to make sure that every expert that presents themselves, whether they're speakers, whether they're business leaders, owners, whatever that might be, is that they can communicate to an audience, and an audience of that media, not
yeah.
their audience.
Yeah. And I think that's the difference, isn't it? Because once you actually decide that you're going to have media, and you said before about being available, and, you know, we've seen recently some instances where people have had to be available within an hour or two. And that's how media plays. I did have a background doing it myself, and you have to be available. But the other thing is, too, is you have to realize that you need to be ready for that bigger audience. So it's not just about the communication. It's like, how does your work apply to them, and what is going to happen if they want more of you? Because so many people get that instant of fame and they're not ready for it, and their businesses aren't ready for it, and it is actually to no avail. So I think it's also too about making sure that the infrastructure around you is ready, because if the media likes you, people will want more of you, won't they?
Oh, certainly. I mean, the real measure of success in media is not your first, second, third media engagement. It's when you get continually asked back.
Yeah,
And that's when you know that, one, you've kicked a few goals with that particular media and they like you. You've kicked a few goals with the audience, because they can actually tell where the audience likes you or not pretty much straight away. And the other side of it is just that the content that you're delivering, it's not about your content and your message. It's about helping that audience, and making sure that that audience gets something from you that they can make their day a little bit better. So we
yeah,
used to work in media where, they would say to you, go and do this course, and you will achieve the goals and results that you're looking for. Media today won't set you off to do a goal or a course or get an expert to come in and say that, because we need immediate fixes. We want people to come in and say, well, how can you give me some information and some content that's going to fix me by the afternoon? So if
yeah.
it's done in the morning, how can I quickly fix myself, so that's how we improve? So that's what audiences are looking for. That's what media is looking for from experts. So
Yeah.
that's the way we've got to think. We've got to think with an audience in mind.
It's so important. And Glenn Capelli was saying this morning, I had an interview with him earlier today, and he was saying that it's about what can they use on Monday. So he quite often speaks at a weekend conference, and he's like, what can they take away and use on Monday? And you're saying, what can they use now, which brings the immediacy in, it brings the effectiveness in. And I think, you know, we're as speakers and experts and people like that, one of the things that I have to work really hard with people on from a speaking perspective is getting that really crystal clear. So what is your actual message? And don't be fluffy. Don't give me the HR position description that no one knows what the title actually means. What is it we're talking about? Why does it matter to you? And then the flip comes in when I get them to articulate to me, why does it matter to an audience? Because usually the language that will come up, and I don't know whether you come across this, usually the language that will come up is, oh, they should and they need to. No. What is going on in their world? What are the questions they're asking that you can answer? And it takes people a long time to actually get out of that conditioning of talking about the theory of what the audience should want to hear. And then if I can't get people past that, I actually don't let them take to the stage and speak. And then the next part of that process is we actually talk about what is the gift? What is the takeaway, the tactical, tangible takeaway that if you were sitting around a table, you could put it on and they could take away and use in their world. What is the gift you are giving them? It's not enough to inspire and motivate and connect. You've got to give them something they can use. So if they follow that structure, is that something that's useful to be starting to work out whether they're even close to being ready for media?
Oh, I loved everything you said then, and that's partly why I didn't sit in there and interrupt, because that was just content gold. It's spot on. You want your people to educate, entertain, and give them something there that they can take away. If Glenn Capelli says something to take away and they can use on Monday, if it's delivered on a Saturday, I want to fix it by Saturday afternoon. So be fast and immediate. To one of your other points there around, get rid of the fluff. Get straight to the point. And the reason you want to get straight to the point is that media has an attention span of around 3 seconds. So if you cannot...
So the attention span of a gnat is what you're saying?
Well, a gnat has a longer attention span, Jacqueline. No, we're talking about, you've got to grab the media, you've got to grab the media's attention with the headline straight away, straight to the point. There used to be a time where we used to build all these fluffy words and make ourselves so beautiful. But you know what? Straight to it. Get in there, hit them with a piece of 4x4, knock them over. Make sure they know who you are. Don't let them ever wonder, who the hell was Jacqueline Nagle? I know who Jacqueline Nagle is. She does this. So, and the other point too, around audience and content, you know, make sure that is completely and utterly relevant to them. You know, it's never about your message or the message that you're trying to get out. Be broad with your message as well. And the reason you want to be broad with your message is that you can be broad with an audience. You can always come back around from the side and come back with your key message if you need to and if you want to. But just to get a foot in the door, make sure that you are relevant to the audience of that media, whether it be an FM, AM radio station, whether it be the Sydney Morning Herald or the Courier Mail, whether it be Today's Show, Sunrise, The Project. Make sure you know that audience and that you go in there with that audience in mind.
Yeah, really important. And it's also too, one of the things that you were just saying there about broad. So when I'm working with people to speak, the broad part of it is actually what's your through line, because some of these really clever people can speak to really clever things. Like, you know, just picked up a new client in Sydney who's an economist who's worked for Packers and Caltex and things like that. And she's a data scientist. And she's also this crazy ass intelligent wit, you know, that just that really smart wit. And, you know, there's all these things that she can speak to and that she has been speaking to, because up until this point, she's been speaking to whatever she gets asked for, which is a little bit what people think is going to happen in media, but it's really not. But one of the things that we do is we actually go, okay, so what are the things that you do want to speak to that you have the right to speak to as well? So you have the right, it's not just a soundbite, you actually have the depth to back it up. And what we create is a through line. So the through line is, it's this, but all of those things under that can make sense under this. But if we can't get it to fit on the through line, if it can't attach itself to that through line, then it's out. And that's what we use as the filter. So for example, her through line is actually, because she talks about, you know, data-driven decisions. She talks about better decision-making. She talks about possibility and things which you don't expect from a data scientist. But what we've done is her through line is navigator. Right? She knows how to navigate. So that's her through line. It's not something we ever tell anyone, but it creates the filter for, does this fit and does this not? So even if I appear to go off subject when you look at the topic, the way that we tie it together, we always sound like we're on message. Is that what you're talking about? Something that's quite broad, but we can fit all these things underneath?
Absolutely. I mean, when we're broad, there's a lot of key messages that we do want to go key with. If you can find those others to what you're saying there, bring them in so that it attracts other audiences. That is wonderful. But what you're also talking about here is proactive messaging. And this proactive messaging that we can send to media, a lot of experts will be sitting there and have been probably asked by media, can you comment on this? Can you comment on that? Now, that's all well and good. And that's great to be asked to comment on. But let's flip it too, Jacqueline, because what we do need to do as experts and commentators is we need to start talking about the topics that we want to talk about as well.
Yeah.
So we need to sow that seed with the media, and we need to be proactive with our messaging. So one of the key things we do at Media Stable, and to your point as well, with those other lines that you can use, is that we want to throw out little stories and yarns that we as experts and commentators can talk on. And the reason we want to do that is that we want to inspire the media to come and talk to us on the topics that we want them to talk on, not sit there and wait for them to come up with a topic or a subject for us to react to.
I
So
think that's actually really important, because we do have this perception from outside of media that it's the lucky few, the people that get chosen, that might have a profile on social. But it's actually, it's like anything, it's actually marketing 101. What do they want to hear about? What can I speak about? And how can we bring them together? Is that what you're saying?
exactly what I'm saying. And Jacqueline, it's, there are very few, but you know what? They're the very few that do it very well.
Yeah.
So here's the little secret for everyone that's watching here today. It's not the fact that you can get on media, the fact if you want to get media, you can get it right now. You can get it tomorrow if you want. But what you've got to go away and do is do three things. One, put your hand up. Say, yes, I'm here. I can do it. I'm an expert. I'm a commentator. I'm positioned well. I've got plenty of experience. The second thing you want to do is not just go and build the content, throw the content together, shape it, pitch it, and put it together the way that the media wants to get it. Mm-hmm. And they want it in different ways now. Did you know 92% of media today don't read press releases? So if you've been in the
can everyone take note of that, please? Because I hate writing press releases. Can everyone take note of that?
If you've been writing press releases and you're wondering, why do I not get any reaction to this? It's because no one's at the other end reading them. So, do yourself a favor. Don't write up a full press release. Write up 100 words. Write up a short précis of the story. Hit hard with the headline and get in there straight to the point why you can do this. And the third factor, and I've mentioned this many, many times, be available. Of course, you've got to be available. You can't just put something out there and then just go into your bunker. You want to do things, and you don't want to give up a $15,000 keynote either to do a 10-minute interview with a community radio station. But I tell you what you might want to do. You might want to move a few things around. Just take every media opportunity that you're doing. Because every little media opportunity is a media asset that's going to build to the point where you're not just a speaker, you're a speaker in demand, and you're also going to be a business leader and an authority that the media is going to recognize. So there's your little hot tips. Stop writing press releases, get straight to the point, write short little précis, and be available.
It's so important. And, on the availability, I will actually disclose that one of my clients started working with you yesterday. You spoke to her at midday and she was on the news by 4. So, and she's never actually done any media before. So she had to really scramble in that time. But, one of the things that I've said to anyone that I work with is, if you're going to go this track, you have to be available. It's the number one thing. If you say no, they move to the next person. If that person has to be great, you don't get the opportunity again to go there.
The word no does not exist in our vocabulary. It does not exist.
It's gone. I won't use it anymore.
Take it out. Fake it till you make it. Just say yes to everything. And the reason you want to do that is because, sure enough, if you do a little bit of research, very quick little bit of research, you'll find the answer and response that you want to give. And if you've got the time to do it, and the beautiful thing about your client that did that, I told her, basically, can you be down there at 4? So while she was down there at 4, she was doing a live cross to a radio station and then went straight into a TV piece.
Yeah.
The total time there, 20 minutes. Yeah. But I tell you what, there is 20 minutes of media time that she's put in and prepared to do to go away and build her profile. And that's the key part.
Absolutely. So can I fire a few questions at you and see where we go?
Go for it.
Okay, so first one is more observational and the things that have been impacting the speaking world, because that's, my world, and I'm going to pull you out into my world for a moment. But you and I were both at a conference. I've spoken about in a couple of other these sessions, back in late March? Yeah, late March. Mid-March, I don't even know anymore, mid-March. And yes, because Friday the 13th was the day that everybody, it was Armageddon for speaking. It was Armageddon for events and speaking. We watched people take hundreds of cancellations on their phone. We watched people with their businesses crumble completely in front of them. We saw our incredible event managers actually keep it together and run like clockwork with us while her whole business disappeared in front of her. It was an extraordinary weekend to be witness to a concentration where we were really the front line to that hit. So what did you notice about that weekend when it really hit? A lot of these people are your clients and your friends and your colleagues. What did you really notice about what happened in that moment of truth, in that sort of 24, 48 hours where it really came crashing in?
Well, first and foremost, the PSA, that convention, those people, those like-minded people brought it together and supported each other. And this is a time to support each other. And you're right, it's been catastrophic there for the speaking business, in that people all of a sudden, with their pre-bookings or their bookings ahead, just completely wiped off the floor. But what we did see, and this is the beauty of it, is that most speakers are sitting there right now going, oh, you know, it's all doom and gloom. What can I do? Where can I go from here? It's now the time to work on your business, work on the speaking business, and start setting yourself up so that when we do return, and believe me, we are going to come back with vengeance.
Yeah, because we're craving human connection and in-life things. Like, it is going to be on steroids. I've been saying this for the last 48 hours. Like, you know, get ready for recovery, because when it comes, it's going to come big. And if you miss it, you're going to miss it.
Yeah. So what's actually happened is, for the speaking and the speaking industry, is that it's almost made a level, even playing ground for a lot of people that were either advanced speakers or breakthrough speakers here. They've now got an opportunity to really start building on the assets that they have sitting in front of them right now to what they will see in the 6 to 12 months time ahead. It will return. And you're right, the hunger that we have for human connection. And we're actually already, I mean, you only have to look on the internet right now. Everyone's got a digital program. It's killing us, and they're all giving it away for free. Have a guess what? We're doing this. We're doing this for money, aren't we, Jacqueline? No, I'm kidding.
No, actually, we are not doing this for money.
We're not. But you know what we are doing is that we're setting people up to go away and be the best that they possibly can after this 6 months. What we're actually doing is stop thinking that this is doom and gloom. Start thinking this is an opportunity to build your speaking business, to build your business of authority. Because right now, if you can get media, if you can get engagement, if you can start working on those little things around you, you're not going to crawl out of this. You're going to walk and run out of it.
Yeah.
And that's what people have got to go away and do, because we're all going to remember this pandemic. But what we will never forget is the way that we have dealt with this pandemic. And that's what you remember in people and how they've reacted and responded to it. So this is a great opportunity for everyone. Get in now and work on your business and get that part right. Because if you get this part right, the glory, the chocolates are coming.
The chocolates are coming. Well, see, you had me. Oh no, whiskey would be better, but chocolates, you had me. So one of the things as well with all of this is, you know, when you say work on your media, work on your assets, we've talked about the 3 things a couple of times that people need to be when they come to you and they want to get ready, or just full stop, want to get ready for media. But how do they actually work on making sure they're media ready? What can they do from the comfort of their own home to actually make sure that they're getting media ready?
Do a couple of things. One, I love to practice in the shower. I interview myself all the time. And can I just tell you what amazing interviews they are too.
That would be extraordinary.
Highly intelligent, very agreeable though. That's the confusing thing.
Not a lot of friction.
The other things you can do, get in front of the camera, start doing things that break you from your comfort zone. And also to, you know, if you're a professional speaker, or if you're even an up and coming speaker breaking through, this is your time to work on it. This is your time to get in front of the camera. And what you're doing in front of the camera is no different to what you do in front of people. Yeah. And you want to, and it's difficult to do it in front of a camera because you don't have that connection, that real relationship, eye-to-eye connection and engagement that you would have speaking. But if you can just get an element of that part right, you know, you are going to be a very, very successful speaker. Other little things, write your content, start writing stories, blogs, start being part of the solution and stop being part of the problem. A lot of people are throwing sticks and stones at the moment. Social media is awash with real negativity. You are leaders, you're experts, you are speakers, you have a responsibility. Rabia Sadiq said something beautiful at the PSA convention. She said, look, I've got more time now. I'm going to double down on my media. I'm going to double down on my media because you know what? I need to give. I need to go away and actually start as a leader with authority and also too with influence. Yeah. I've got a responsibility here.
Absolutely. And she articulated that so beautifully. It was for the breakthrough speakers in the room. I noticed all of them taking notes. It was like a light bulb moment for so many of them when she did that.
Her and Michael McQueen were just brilliant then because it was what we all needed. We all needed to know, and it was like a blanket of security that we got, was to say, look, it's okay. We'll get past this, but don't give up on your craft. Don't give up on your business. Yeah. And also to focus on the big goals because we're all going to have speed humps along the way, This is
Mm.
going to be just a minor blink. We're all going to go, remember 2020? Jeez, what a
Have you
shocking
seen,
year that was.
speaking of 2020, have you, and I must just sidebar for a moment, but have you seen the meme that is, hey, 2020, none of this was on my vision board? It's like, I saw that the other day and I thought that's one that's worth actually liking, because it was like, yeah, none of us planned for this. But that's also one of the conversations I'm having quite frequently, is none of us plan for this any day of our lives. Like, this is global impact, and it's almost a collective comfort in the fact that we're all getting hit. But, I've come out of industries that get slammed. We've come out of things like GFC and 9/11. And I say to people all the time, like, your personal, it used to be your personal GFC could happen any day of the week, and nobody will even know about it, and you will just drown in silence. So I think also too, it's actually that being in that environment that we were in at the convention actually allowed us to go, there's people who've been through this before, and they're okay. They might be, a little bit shaky, but they're all on message, which we need to be for media, but they're all on message, and we're going to be okay. So I think that was really important. I know that a lot of people come to you. What's the craziest pitch that you've ever heard for why someone should be on media?
Oh, craziest pitch. Look, I won't say necessarily a crazy pitch, but one thing that a lot of people do come to me. I love it when accountants come to me and go, "Oh, we're not very interesting. We're boring," and it's like, well, if you continue with that narrative, yes, you are.
There's no chance to change it, guys.
Really, what did you come to me for? Because I really want to talk to a boring person right now. Now, one of my favorite pitches, and it was one that was going really nowhere. It was a travel agent. It was a travel agent that specialised in African safaris, and that's a fairly difficult pitch to put forward to media, because travel and accommodations very heavily in advertising. So to take it out of advertising and to put it into editorial, always really difficult. But when he got talking, he was half an hour in, and then he said, well, when this lion had bitten my head off and literally took half of my face and skull off, and my girlfriend held my head together in the back of a Jeep to take me back to hospital while on safari, I was a little concerned about my business.
Whoa.
It was a light bulb. I said, so at what point were you planning to tell us this? He goes, oh, I just thought it was just part of what I did. Mate, this is your backstory. This is everything about you. This is what we go with. So what started with as a boring sort of, pitch I wasn't really too keen on, ended up being this magnificent thing. He was on national television within 24 hours.
Wow.
You had him doing kinds of stories that were, just telling his story. And then as a result, his business and his personal profile all raised because he wasn't going in to sell his product. He wasn't going to sell his service. What he was going to tell his story. But there's one thing. I'm always going to go on an African safari with a bloke that got bitten by a lion, because I tell you what, that happening twice in 1 minute, it's not going to happen. So I'm going with him.
Absolutely. So you blew one of the myths out of the water before about press releases are not being read anymore. And that actually, first of all, I was stunned, because that's a new paradigm to me. But then I thought, there's no journalists left. There's no editorial staff left. Of course, they're just sitting in inboxes with thousands of other emails exactly the same. It actually makes sense when you think about it. The other thing that was I guess, a strategy, 5, 10, 15 years ago, but particularly probably 5 and 10 years ago, was to break into mainstream media. Sometimes actually going on Talkback, like ABC Talkback and the Talkback radio shows, was always a good thing, because in newsrooms that don't really exist anymore, they would always have that playing in the background. And if you were of interest, you'd be picked up. So is Talkback still worth it as a first step?
Oh, I love Talkback.
I know you would love Talkback. You love to talk.
I've lived and breathed it. I mean, I've got to say though, 3AW, when Ernie Sigley used to be on there, nearly near killed me because he was boring me. But Talkback's not natural for a 22-year-old kid to be listening to, so that's another thing. But
that's a conversation we can have later.
Talkback is, if you can do the art of Talkback, not just listening, creating conversations, but also taking things from Talkback callers that could go anywhere. Yeah. That's the ultimate skill there for any speaker, for any commentator, any media commentator, because you've got to think on your feet and think fast. But the beautiful thing about that is that it can go anywhere, and it's highly entertaining and can take you to that place where you go, you know what? That Jacqueline Nagle, she's not just good at what she does, she's awesome.
Yeah.
I get that. And I have to start subscribing to you and start subscribing to your theories. So Talkback's really good. I've had a community radio guy who was a finance guy that was on doing community radio for years. Was listening to him. We then threw him onto our system there. We said, right, let's just do a little bit of work with you. And then we got an opportunity to go on to 3AW Drive and be the finance commentator there over a Christmas period when most people during Christmas, they take the time off. So use that as an opportunity. When Christmas time comes, put your hand up. And anyway, he was that good. He's been the finance commentator on there now for the last 4 years, and he's now a paid member of the media. Wow. So he's not just doing and providing his content, but he actually, he gets paid to do what he does. So it can take anywhere. Take your opportunities. Any media is good media, and start with your local media as well, your community newspapers. There's a great opportunity. They'll write word for word what you write because they haven't got the subbies to do the extra work that's required. And then upgrade yourself into radio, your local state radio, get onto ABC, ABC National. But even still, put your hand up for TV.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised.
I think people think that TV, it is a holy grail because that's your biggest eyeballs and the biggest listeners if you're on the right program, obviously. But I think also too, people hesitate for it and think that there's this build. And it's like, if your content is going to work, it's going to work. You've just got to be prepared to turn up and be visible, physically visible on it. Yeah.
Take back yourself. You know, the one thing I respect with speakers to such a high level is that, and it's not natural for me to get up in front of a crowd of more than 25, 30, 40 people. When you're speaking to 50 plus people, you are the most bravest person I know. So, but think of it, when you're doing media, it's not about the 75, 80,000 people that are watching. It's the camera. It's the journalist. That's the relationship that you're having. One person. So in many ways, it's very easy to do. Don't get too caught up in the background of what is going on around you. Live in the moment. But, speakers in their own right are very brave already. And they will take these opportunities because I can tell you, you put a little snapshot, a little video on your LinkedIn profile and you're part of the media. I tell you what, your authority goes through the roof.
And that's one of the things that is really interesting. I don't talk much about my own media background, but if you go to my speaker page, it has some of the logos of what I've been on. And it's really interesting how if people find that, all of a sudden your credibility goes through the roof. And it's like, I'm actually still the same person. And one of the things I say to people is, it's actually also not just about the media anymore. It's actually, okay, so if you get a spot on today's Sunrise, a project, whatever it might be, it's what do you actually do with that piece? What do you tell people to do with their media once they've got that piece?
Get it everywhere. Publish everything and anywhere you can go. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see that I'm pretty much prolific in pushing all my media engagements and connections up because I want to practice what I preach. But the key thing here is that it's not about look at me, look at me, look at me. It's about I've just delivered this to camera. I've just done this piece to radio. I've just been printed in this particular newspaper. I'd love your advice. I'd love your feedback on this. Do you follow this particular collaboration line?
Yeah.
Correct. Because again, it gets back to that point. We can produce some of the best marketing material ever. It can be a wonderful manufactured video or a beautiful pamphlet or document that says how good we are. But you put me in front of a camera or in front of a microphone, delivering my content to a wider audience, the authority that you get with that and the brand of that particular media, there is nothing that will beat it. So that's what you aim to go away and do. Build your authority, align yourself with the media that you want to be aligned with, and also to get your content out there, be a contributor to media and watch your authority grow.
Perfect. So, Nic, the other thing that I wanted to very quickly ask is, we're in post-crisis. I'm not saying we're still in crisis. We're sort of bumping along the bottom now, and we'll start to get a bit of a rhythm with the bump, and then we'll start to actually see and twist into that new view of what the world really is. So what's in really high demand right now? So your crystal ball for the next 5 to 7 days.
Look, crystal ball, it's still going to be health practitioners, white collar professionals, those that are business leaders that have got something in that space. But let's go down into resilience now, also to, you know, return of work, how we can actually, I mean, family environment, the kids are still going to be at home. How do we actually entertain and educate them along the way? Everything's been thrown into the mix. We've just thrown a big grenade off in the middle of the parade ground, and everyone's running for cover.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit from everyone. What you've just got to do, and every expert that's sitting here watching, and everyone here is an expert, I can assure you, but everyone is, you've got to find what my expertise and where it fits in today's story, and what angle can I come from to talk about it and to feed content and information into that media. But the real big ones, obviously, we've gone through the big health issues, the big doctors that are talking about it. And the media is now starting to transition to, how do we get past this? Yeah. What does the new world look like? And who can we talk to that's going to take us out of this? Who are we going to follow out of this? And how are we going to get there? So they're some of the people that we could be working with and talking to. But look, every expert has an angle here. They just don't quite know or haven't quite nutted it out. But I guarantee you, everyone's got an angle there. So we just had one on the weekend. Weekend Today runs a baking company. You know, of course, what are we doing more of? We're at home.
We're all baking. We can't buy yeast anymore. We can't bake because there's no yeast available.
I tried to get some flour this afternoon. Couldn't get any. I can get toilet paper. Can't get flour.
So it's the next wave.
But for next week, next wave, you know, these are the people. You know, what's a baking expert got to do with COVID-19? Well, I tell you what. We've all come back together. We're all going to be in the one place. We've got to find those angles where we fit in. And they're not that difficult to find. You just got to work on it.
Perfect. So number one, hot tip to people, if they believe that they're media ready, what do they need to do?
Put your hand up. First and foremost, get in there. Make yourself known. Get yourself known either to your local media. Let them know that you've got something that can contribute. Consume the media as well. Make sure that you don't just go in there completely cold. Make sure you know what that journalist is writing on and what they're working on, because that's the best way in there. I love what you wrote yesterday on that particular topic. Here's my angle. Here's my point of view behind it. Yeah. And this is where I come from. I'm a professional speaker, author, whatever you are. Position yourself so that you give yourself authority to do that. Short of that,
those 3 points, if I can just reiterate them. So it was, here's my angle on it. Here's my thinking. Is that what it was? And then here's where I'm coming from. That third one is actually how you start to stand out, isn't it?
Correct. Because you're a speaker. You're positioning yourself because you've come from somewhere.
Yeah.
Or you've got some backstory to talk yourself through it and to be up there on the stage. So find that and present it to the media and say, this is where I'm coming from. Yeah. Short of that, get some help. You know, we're here. And the beautiful thing about why we're here is that because, you know, Jacqueline, the funny thing is media, even though media don't pay us, we sort of feel like they're our clients. Yeah. Because when the media is working well with our experts and our experts and commentators benefit from that.
Absolutely.
So it's a win-win situation.
I've seen the effect both in my own previous business lives and with the people that I'm working with now. And anybody who is listening to this, if you think that you've got something, I mean, you can reach out to Nic or myself to look at what your messaging is and what it really is and whether it really does matter. Media stability experts and changing that into media worthy stuff. But it's also really important to just get crystal clear on what it is that you talk about. You know, so many people are waffling and we've got to get you direct. We've got to get you on point, and then we can actually do something with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Go to Jacqueline first. And the reason you want to go to Jacqueline first is that she's got a 100% success rate with the people that she's referred over to us. So I can say, go to you first and then come to me.
Well, I'm also going to say, so if I do say to you, if you want one of the ones when I say you're not quite media ready yet, you need to listen. Because one of the things, and I spoke to you about this the other day, Nic, when we were talking about one of our joint clients, and one of the things is, you know, people do say to me, I'm ready to go to the next level. I think I'm going to need some media. And it's like, the reasons why I say people aren't ready is that they don't have a consistent theme or through line. They are all over the place. The other thing is staying on message. So people tend to start talking about what they do here, and then they wind all over here, and then they circle back and they drop down, and it gets a bit confusing. So if you can't stay on message, you're actually not media ready yet.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And
yeah, sorry.
no, I so that is absolutely true. And the other side of it is that when you have a message to deliver and you're not quite ready, that confidence, that confidence in working with media, if it's not there, it's going to be very obvious. So actually working in media, if you're not ready, it'll actually be detrimental. It'll be detrimental to your brand because you won't come across as an authority. You'll come across, just sort of just throwing a few words together.
But having said that, in wrap up, everybody who is watching this and who will watch this later on and things like that, is media, if you actually want to make a difference, like everybody tells me, I want to make an impact, I want to make a difference in the world. If you are serious about that, then whether it's now or in the near future or the mid future, you actually do have to bring media into your mix.
Media is an important asset for authority. There is nothing better than it. And when it's in your show reel, your potential clients, the clients that are going to go away and book you, they'll be looking at you after 7:30 at night, and they'll look at one or two of your media pieces. So you want to have at least 12 or 10 in the background for them to choose from, but they're only going to look at two. And I tell you what, if they're looking at it and they're seeing that you are the one that the media uses, I guarantee you that client will use you too.
Yeah. And actually, so that actually brings me to the third point, is that one of the things before I send people to you with my clients is, and I think it's really useful for everyone, if you are getting ready and you need to be ready to move fast because you guys know what you're doing, have your digital footprint cleaned up. So when people go and look at you, they're not seeing a profile that's 2 years old. They're not seeing a lack of recommendations. They're not seeing language that doesn't match you. So clean up your digital footprint. You know, if your website is too old, tear it down and just get a one-page landing page done in the short term. Fix your LinkedIn profile. Actually say that you're a speaker. Actually say that you're an expert, not in the headline, but all the things, and attach media to things and attach social proof to things, and show people where to go to see you. One of my clients in the US talks about the binge in a day, download in a day. So she has a page that has a link to every single part of who she is. So that and it's automatically programmed to open a different link, so people never lose that front page. So the other thing is, if you believe that you're ready, make sure that your digital footprint doesn't let you down, because I've seen speakers lose opportunities because it doesn't work. And I know in media, you will actually get crucified if that happens.
Yeah, spot on. And media will do that research before you go on. So as good as what Media Stable is to get you in there, those producers will still do a bit of a video check to see if you've done anything before, to see how you performed, and also too, the quality, as you've just pointed out there, Jacqueline, the quality of your website, it just says so much about you. And you know, this is the first time that they get to meet you, and you want to make a really good impression first up.
Absolutely. Nic, it has been a delight. I think we're a little bit over time.
Geez, that doesn't sound like us at all, Jacqueline.
Yeah, no, it doesn't sound like us at all. But thank you so much. I hope that everybody's found it really valuable. For those of you playing along at home, I will be back in the group tomorrow morning at around about 9 o'clock to get your key takeaways, take any questions that you have. And I also look forward to more people connecting with Nic. His contact details will be in the comments below the video. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.